Hey guys, I'm Ryan Penagos, a.k.a. Marvel's Agent M, and I'm joined by Jim Mangold, director of the Wolverine, and Logan himself, Hugh Jackman. How you doing, guys?
Man. Good.
Hey, good to be
Welcome.
here.
Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the live chat from the set of the Wolverine.
Yeah.
Jim, Hugh, and the rest of the crew have been kindly allowing us this special access on the set, which is only a few days away from wrapping here in Sydney, Australia. You guys psyched for this to kind of come together?
Yeah, I'm a little sad.
I am too. I've loved the time here in Sydney.
Yeah, no, we've still got a few weeks to go.
Yeah, we do.
There's plenty of time for us to screw it up. Yeah.
There's some major stuff yet to shoot, but it is down to a few weeks now. And but it is bittersweet because you're ready for a good night's sleep, but you're kind of at the same time the challenge of the movie, and it's such a great crew and such an amazing cast.
Yeah.
We have fun every day.
And
Cool.
it's felt so different. From my perspective, obviously it's different for you. It's your first time, but from my perspective, the whole experience from the development through to shooting has felt really different. This whole movie feels fresh, and I know the fans and the audiences are going to be surprised by it, and I think they're going to really dig it.
Totally. Well, we asked you guys to submit questions, and you guys came through crazy good. So let's jump right into things. The first question is from Alessandro in Munich, Germany. Where does this story fit into the XMen timeline? And I know that's a huge question for everybody.
Well, this film situates itself essentially after the 3 X-Men movies that exist, and finds Logan at a point when the X-Men are gone, Jean Grey is gone, a lot of the ties he had to the world are gone. It was very important to me. I wanted to place this movie and this story somewhere where Hugh and I could develop a movie which could create its own world. Wasn't having to, in a sense, hand off to another movie or answer to another movie on the aft. Yeah. That we could kind of do what we were going to do and take him where we were going to take him. I also think it's a really interesting place to find Logan, which is at this moment when almost every connection, intimate connection he had to the world has been either destroyed or broken.
Yeah, very cool.
He's definitely at his lowest point at the beginning of this movie. You see him more vulnerable than you've ever seen him before, that's for sure. So it's a fantastic place to start, and having Jim there has been amazing, because we worked together before on Kate and Leopold, but he pushes me, probably like no one else does. So it's been good.
Yeah, just watching you guys interact has been a lot of fun.
No, we have a lot of fun, and it's the thing is that for me, making a lot of dramas and other kinds of films as well, on one side it's a very different kind of challenge, and on another side it's not at all. Meaning that my goal is to try and bring the kind of dramatic integrity you might find in a straight drama, the kind of realism of the acting and of the intentions and the conflict into a movie like this, where it doesn't feel tongue-in-cheek, where it feels really committed and real.
Cool. Gura from Bandung, Indonesia has a question for you, Hugh. How did you grow that awesome facial hair?
I'm not sure I'm proud of it. It's something I inherited from my father. Luckily, not the back hair as well. But no, this is part of my heritage. That's one thing I can do, relatively easy. In fact, in my sleep, I can do it.
Marco from Sao Paulo, Brazil, has a question for you guys. If you could have any mutant power, each of you personally now in our reality, which one would you pick?
Definitely teleporting for me.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
Obviously, the amount we move, you can probably relate to this, just got off a plane a few hours ago, right? Yeah. I think the ability to just be bang anywhere would be fantastic. I'm one of those people who probably tries to pack too much into life, and the traveling bit is usually what tips me over. Wouldn't it be good, right?
That would be great.
Yeah.
I think mind control, some kind of getting in people's minds. I think for a director,
what are you talking about? You've already got that, man.
To make it official, to make it genetic. But but also just kind of knowing what people are thinking, knowing or seeing around corners. That would be both scary, but
man, I can't even read reviews, let alone know what people are really thinking. You know.
Yes. Maybe that would be better.
Next question is from John, who's in London, and he's with Hey You Guys. Hugh, you've been playing the character of Logan for over a decade. What new light does the Wolverine bring to the character?
Thanks, John. Good question. I never thought I'd be playing one character for this long, but I have to admit, from X-Men 1, my secret dream was to always shoot this particular arc of the Logan story. It's from a very popular comic book arc, the samurai story set in Japan. Logan comes into it very much the tragic hero that he's written as, because as we said at the very beginning of this movie, everybody that's meant anything to him is gone. a lot of which he blames on himself. The movie's called The Wolverine, and what Jim and I talked about was we really wanted this movie to actually, better than ever before, encapsulate that character. So forgetting all the others, whatever happens afterwards, this movie to be the one where you finish watching and go, right, I got that character. So it's meant in every way, physically, emotionally, had to go further. You have to see him lower, more desperate, more at stake than ever before.
And more rage.
Yep.
I think the other thing I wanted to see is for those of us who are fans of the comic, I think one of the aspects that is so huge in this character is the aspect of just his rage, his anger.
Rage.
And I think that for me, there was a lot of kind of research and thinking about how to find that, tap into it, and also set up the story in a way. Outlaw Josie Wales has been something I've thought about as a lot as I set off on this movie. And you know, that's a film in which Clint Eastwood watches his wife and children murdered in the first 3 minutes of the movie. And the reason I kept thinking about it is how neatly and concisely the setup of that film set Clint off on a journey that was built on loss and rage, not just depression and disillusionment, but a kind of quest for some kind of revenge. And I think that that aspect of darkness is also something I really felt was such an integral part of the Marvel legacy of this character, and I wanted to see, and it's easier to develop when you're making a film just about one character than a team or a kind of a squad. You know, it's like you can really get inside Logan's shoes.
Yeah. The Wolverine Berserker rage is that aspect of the comics that we've always loved.
Yes.
Very cool. It's fun.
And the simmering rage,
Yeah.
and and all the other aspects of the rage.
Yeah.
I think we were looking
We
for
explore
in all,
anger in all its
in all its forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great therapy.
Diego from Mexico City has a question. He says, how long have you guys been filming and where have you filmed?
Diego, we've been filming now for 3 months, and we filmed obviously in Japan. The story is primarily set in Japan, so we were there for 3 or 4 weeks. We shot there on locations. We shot in Tokyo. Obviously, we shot outside Tomonora at this fishing village. Omishima, that's right. We shot on bullet train stations. We shot all over the place, which was fascinating and something we'll never forget, and looks incredible. The rest of it has been shot here in Sydney, both on stages and on locations. And I'm as amazed and proud as anyone to see how just incredibly like Japan this looks, you know. So it's been fascinating, and it's been great.
Well, it's Japan for this film becomes like a kind of Oz that Logan travels to, like in The Wizard of Oz. It's kind of this fever dream of all the things kind of, and it was in the original, you know, Miller Claremont comic, was just this kind of all these aspects of Japanese culture that are there, from Yakuza to mobsters to samurai to ninja, and it's all there. And so we're kind of trying to construct a kind of very realistically acted, and in some ways realistically looking, but also what I always say to our production designer is kind of a fever dream, like a kind of, I also think it should be heightened in some way or feel like it's more, like the volume knob has been turned up visually in a way.
Cool.
This family dynasty that he walks in upon, really, and it's just this is one of the reasons I was so fascinated, because Logan, in his very essence, in many ways is the opposite of everything about Japanese culture. He's not about duty or honor or history or tradition or family, hierarchies, none of that. He's the opposite. So it really sets itself up in many ways. The juxtaposition is just perfect for him.
So you guys touched on this a little bit, but Christopher from Michigan has a question that says, how is the level of danger established for Wolverine, considering his intense healing powers?
It's a really good question, because you're always in danger with someone like Wolverine of feeling, well, he can get out of anything because he has healing ability, and you know, unless you lop his head off, you know, really he's going to come back at you. And actually in this movie, how do we put it? Let's say he discovers his kryptonite.
There's a kryptonite kind of metaphor you could make. There's also just, what we could say to Christopher is that we're addressing that, meaning that there is a challenge he faces that poses a challenge to him and makes it harder for him. I think that it's something we wouldn't want to give away more about now, but I think that we're very conscious of that. There's two aspects. One is what he was alluding to, which is that some of the people Logan is up against might have found ways of getting to him that are different than we've seen before.
Yep.
But also that I think we've made a very concerted effort in trying to make the film feel more real, to also pull back a little on the kind of super duper kind of abilities of Logan, like he doesn't bring down any airplanes. You know, it's like it's grounded. I wanted the action in this film to feel physical and to feel possible for someone with his credible abilities. And I think that part of it is kind of bringing things down to earth in a way that is no less exciting, no less visually exciting, but maybe a little less dependent only on kind of giant CG and more dependent. I mean, Hugh, I have to say, and me and the stunt team working on this picture comment on it every day, is, if not one of the most talented physical actors alive. I mean, that he can jump into these fight sequences, and the choreography I think people are going to see is amazing and physical and real, and he's doing it. And it's and there's long takes where there is some badass stuff going on.
I think the other thing that Jim really talked about at the beginning, and it was a great thing to key in on, that yes, he has claws, an adamantium skeleton, and he has healing ability. His ultimate weapon is his rage. His ultimate weapon is that thing in here. I mean, if you look at all the mutants, there are the mutants with stronger, powers on paper. But who's the person you least want to annoy? It's Wolverine.
Yes.
Right? And that's the thing that makes him badass. That's the thing that makes him cool. And that's the thing we're trying to kind of key in on. Not this kind of inflation of powers or my healing ability is better, but really, when it comes to it, it's that berserker rage.
Well, we don't want to succumb to what has been going on for years now, which is almost like an arms race of action movies in which they just try and outdo the spectacle, and it keeps growing until almost you can't. You reach a ceiling. It's like music can only get so loud, and at some point you have to do something different inside. It just can't be louder. And so in some way, I think what we're trying to do is, sure, that this is a tentpole movie, there's outrageous action, but I think it also, in the family and in the world of like the Bourne films or the Dark Knight films, or in films where it's not necessarily sometimes about blowing up planet Earth, but much more earthbound, but the physicality of the action is something I think people will find really gripping.
Yeah. Well, to speak to the physicality, Joe from Stuttgart has a great question. Hugh, how did you intensify your training for this particular film?
Good question, Joe. I started earlier. I'm stricter. I started a long way earlier, because actually Jim and I were really been developing this we've been on this movie for 2 years. So the script was ready. I knew we had the time. For whatever reason, either I was doing something before or we had a rush start date. I never felt I had the proper preparation time. With this, I had it. And
you mean on past films?
On past films, sorry, past X-Men films. So I had no excuse. So I started earlier. I'm not getting younger, so I just, basically I have to train harder. I'm eating better. I'll tell you, I rang my mate Dwayne Johnson, and he gave me some great tips about eating, which I'm actually angry with him about, because it's 6,000 calories a day. I've killed more chickens than I'd like to ever dream about. And anyway, but the goal, I'm really happy that finally I feel like physically what is on film is how I saw it in my head. And by the way, this is not a vanity thing. This is not just about looking buff. And it's important that that rage inside is seen in his body. So it's not just being buff. Looks like he goes to the gym. I wanted to see veins. I wanted it to be animalistic. I want it to look not pretty frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some photos that the unit photographer showed me last time I was here, and it was terrifying. The photos of you, the rage coming out of the picture was awesome. I can't wait for the fans to see that stuff.
I do show them to my kids all the time when they're on their homework. It works a treat.
Yes. Yeah.
Now I could get like this, or you could just do your homework.
No, it's like a raw nerve. You want the physicality that Hugh has worked so hard to embody. Kind of when we get back to talking about the rage, and we get back to talking about the kind of physicality of the character. Nothing speaks louder than just this kind of that his silhouette in a scene with lightning in the sky, and you see the cut of his body, and you understand this guy can tear you apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So Jess from Johannesburg, South Africa has a great question. What sort of enemies does Wolverine face in this film? We talked about it a little bit, but he's got ninjas and what else? All kinds of stuff?
Yakuza, industrialists, politicians, women of varying degrees of who are they, what are they, can I trust them?
Yeah, great answer.
And
Very good.
It's a labyrinth. I think that one of the things we're trying to do in this picture is you get an array, other mutants. I think there is an array of people he will come in contact with, both good, bad, or they're a question mark. And I think part of the energy of the film, if most superhero movies are eminently clear about who the bad guy is at the beginning and who the heroes have to battle to save this plot of land or group of people from the bad guys, this is a film where it is much more of a mystery and a labyrinth. Who can I trust? Where can I trust? It's part of what makes it so interesting that Logan enters the story trusting no one. Because he then has to kind of go through this array of people he meets in Japan and figure out good, bad, indifferent, and who he's gonna rely on.
And I don't want this to sound cheesy, but really also I always think himself. For probably more than ever, we've explored this war within himself, which is so endemic to this character and why people have loved the comic book character. And in this movie, we really explore his immortality, the burden of that. And at the beginning of this movie, he's finding it tough to find a reason to live. And that essential battle really goes with him throughout the movie and is one of the really important themes, I think.
Yeah, and that's got to be so crushing for Logan himself, just the weight of living
Forever.
so long.
Well, Ryan, you and I were talking about it on your last visit. When I got involved in the project, it's one of the huge things that was inspiring to me was this aspect of if you place the story after these other X-Men films when he's lost everyone, and you're faced with a theme which I find really interesting, which is and has existed as long as mythology has existed, which is the wait for gods. Which, let's face it, that's what superheroes are. I mean, in a way, are gods. That the weight of forever, the W-E-I-G-H-T, the heavy burden of living forever, and what it means. And when I was first talking to Hugh about this story, I thought a lot about. I don't know if many people here have read Isaac Asimov, but this great short story called The Bicentennial Man about, novelette actually, about a robot that lives forever, falls in love, loses the people he loves, must keep going. And the aspects of going forever and losing everyone you love. What is it like to live essentially forever, to keep trudging on, to have to keep rescuing humanity, to keep losing the people you love?
And I remember our first conversation, actually, you said to me, enough with the, I can't remember what happened to me, what was my past, who am I? And we've explored it a lot. It's more like the future. How do I live with myself? How do I live with whatever knowledge I have, whatever's happened? And by this point, there is enough knowledge. There is enough of life where he knows. That, and I thought that was such a fresh perspective and more interesting for everyone to follow as a storyline.
Wesley from here in Sydney has a question. Which Wolverine comics are your personal favorites?
Well, I actually love this. I love this saga. This was the saga that when I have always kind of was in this world and collecting, it was the one that landed both really from a visceral level. I love the artwork. I love the combination of the kind of Japanese aesthetic with the Wolverine aesthetic. But I love the story. I love the aspect that it was character based. But you know, I love the whole saga and the whole world. But it was to me a tremendous opportunity when this came up because it was always a series I really responded to.
Same for me. It's my favorite sort of series on the Japanese samurai saga, but I also love Weapon X. It's just a classic. I love it. Still would love to see that scene where his hair grows back. I want to see that on film. It's a great little goes. I'm like, well, those technicians, look at his hair. My God, it's grown back. That's the one bit I still want to see.
That's awesome. Mo from Florence, Italy says, what is your favorite prop from the set, and do you get to keep any of them? And I don't know that we can give too much away here, but you know, we've got some cool stuff that even we brought in for this. Some cool swords and whatnot. Or is it just the claws?
Well, the swords, I mean, within the context of the whole Japanese world of it all, there is some really, when you see the movie and you see close-ups of these swords, they are incredible, made of kind of folded, the way the steel is manipulated, the way it creates these kind of almost, Japanese knives are beyond beautiful, and they're made in a process of kind of folding the steel that produces almost like wood grain in the steel. It's this kind of warbled. They're exquisite, and the armorer and the kind of the weapon stuff and the prop stuff we're using in this film is amazing. I also have to as it's already kind of out and still comment that the bone claws always make me smile. They always make me smile. They're just something that is primeval, and speak to me about who Wolvie is at his base, what he came from.
That's cool.
Of course, I have to say the claws, but secretly I've got a few pairs of those stashed away. I've actually been a fan of Japanese samurai armor for a long time, and was lucky enough to have a private tour of the Met in New York, where they showed me some amazing stuff. And of course, in Tokyo, I went to the Japanese Museum. I find the Japanese armor to be so beautiful. Something that's meant obviously for protection in a war is actually so artistic, and there's some Japanese armor in this that I could quite happily put into a garbage bag and nick.
Nick off with.
Yeah, so if you can't find it, you know where it is.
Got it.
Yep.
Shin from Tokyo, Japan asks, if you were to sum up the movie in a couple of sentences, how would you describe it?
It is awesome. I'd say Logan enters a labyrinth of mystery, adventure, violence, love, heartbreak.
Shin, is it? Yeah, Shin. Go to the title. The title gives you a big clue about this movie. If you've ever liked the character of Wolverine, of Logan, this is the movie for you. It's called The Wolverine. It's not called anything else. You're going to see...
It's 100% undiluted Wolverine.
You're going to see every side to him, and there's going to be some surprises in there too. And I just might want to add to that, having gone through it for 12 weeks and having done many of these, playing this role for 10 years, action-wise, this is going to be the most action-packed and new and exciting than there's ever been before.
Raj from Calcutta, India says, when can we see The Wolverine in theaters? So this is...
Sounds like a setup.
Well, I believe it's late July of next year is our
Yes.
release. Yeah, world day and date around the world, I believe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
26th of July, isn't it? 26th, 27th of July. So not that long to wait.
Yeah, it seems far away right this second, but that's going to come so quick.
Well, and in the road to that, I'm sure there'll be, trailers and things coming out
Yeah.
in between now and then that will whet your appetite.
Yes.
Thanks, Raj.
Yeah. Okay, before we let you guys get back to shooting, there's a very special reveal for everyone who's been paying close attention. Hugh, where can the fans get details for this?
You can go to the Wolverine Facebook and Twitter accounts and find out all the details about it.
Thanks so much for updating us, letting us come here, and letting me be a part of all this. Thanks to everyone out there for watching and tuning in. Don't forget, The Wolverine opens worldwide beginning summer 2013.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.